Okay, so today we are doing the Nope book tag. Really intrigued to do this one. This one is seen as being a little, I don't know, there's a bit of a scandal, I guess, attached to it in a way. But to me, I have no problem with any book tag, and I love honesty. Recently I did a video called 10 Things That I Love about BookTube. I'll put a picture of it and link it up there. So in that video, I talked about how I love booktubers who are brutally honest. You may have a book that you've read that you don't love that everyone else does, and you're brutally honest about that. Or you may have a book that you've read that you love that most people don't love, and you're brutally honest about that. So, time for my brutal honesty in this Nope book tag. Number 1, a book ending that made you go nope, either in denial, rage, or simply because the ending was crappy. For this one, I have Goosebumps, My Hairiest Adventure. So, the Goosebumps series are they're middle grade horror books. Most of them are standalones, and this is part of the reason why I noped this in a very big way. I used to love these books growing up, so I decided to give them a reread a few months ago, and I started with this book. What I didn't like about the ending was not the fact that I didn't like the ending, but more the fact that I did. Let me explain. 2.5 pages before the end of this book is the first time that this book gets really interesting. We spend a lot of time with this book. The premise of this book is that it follows this guy, Larry, who he and his friends who are part of a band, one day they find a bottle of Instatan and they rub it onto themselves to give themselves a glowing tan, I suppose. And the next thing we know, Larry starts growing fur out of all different areas of his body. I did not find this intriguing at all, but in the end, at the end of the book, we come to find out why he's growing fur out of his body, and oh my god, the reveal was amazing, but then it kind of just died. Like, we got the reveal and the book was over, 2.5 pages of amazingness, and then it was done, and it's a standalone. To me, this is not right. This is not fair! I ended up rating this book 1 star because you can't give me something good and then just stop and write no more about it. So, for number 1, R.L. Stein's Goosebumps, My Hairiest Adventure. Number 2, a Nope protagonist, a main character you dislike and drives you crazy. For this one, I have chosen a random Harry Potter book. I have chosen a very unpopular, what I'm sure is going to be an unpopular opinion, Ronald Weasley. I'm sorry, don't hate me, but this guy, it seems that he is literally put into these books and also into the film adaptations. It translates really well into the film adaptation, but to me, Ronald Weasley's job is to be a part of this trio to provide comedic relief. To me, a lot of the time I find this to be really annoying. Also, little things that Ron will do, especially there are times where Ron and Harry have these moments where they're just not talking to each other because they've had a fight, but to me the fight is, I don't like this word, but the fight is so stupid, and Ron just stops talking to Harry for no really good reason, and I'm sorry, but I'm just not a fan of his. Feel free to sound off below and tell me how terrible a person I am because I've chosen Ron Weasley for this one, but my answer for the Nope protagonist is Ronald Weasley. Number 3, a Nope series, a series that turned out to be one huge pile of nope after you've invested all of that time and energy on it. Okay, so this one's pretty easy for me. My answer to that one, the Nope series, is The Hunger Games. Okay, so I gave book 1 5 stars, I gave book 2, I think either 4 or 3 stars, and I gave book 3 like 2 or 1 star. This series to me just seemed to spiral out of control. I went into The Hunger Games a little earlier this year, reading it for the first time, completely blind, never knew anything about the books, never knew anything about the films, and I loved this book so much. I feel like Suzanne Collins just captured lightning in a bottle. There were expectations I had for book 2, and owing to a twist that happens around about halfway through the book, I knew that I wouldn't get what I wanted to see out of this book. So it was okay, but there were some things that I didn't like about this book. And then with book 3, the lightning that Ms. Suzanne Collins seemed to capture in the bottle over here, it's as though she threw it on the floor, smashed it, and then wrote, "This pile of junk, Mockingjay." And, I'm going to be honest and say it's a pile of junk because that's exactly what it is. These two books have a wonderful formula to them. They're just such amazing reads. And then with this one, it's like Suzanne Collins said, you know what, I don't care that I've called lightning in a bottle. I'm just going to go in a completely different direction and screw the fans. I'm just going to write this book. This was just a slap in the face for Hunger Games fans. I'm not the only one who thinks so. There are a lot of people who don't like Mockingjay. But if you do, let me know in the comments below. Let's start a discussion about it. But for me, easily, this is the Nope series. And I will not be reading A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because of how disappointed I was. Number 4, a Nope popular pairing, a ship you don't support. So for those of you who don't know, a ship is basically short for relationship. It is a term that is used to take two words, the names of two people that are in a couple, and put them together. Some examples of this include Ezria, Spoby, Spaleb, what was it called? Emerson, and this is just PLL, I mean, but yeah, there are many ships. PLL is not even my answer, but it's a good example because there are many ship names for that particular series and show. But my answer to popular pairing, a ship that I don't support, I'm going to give you 2, and again we're going back to the Harry Potter universe. I'm just going to hold up a different book. This is obviously Order of the Phoenix, book number 2, before I held book number 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban. Okay. I'm not going to spoil how the series ends. All I'm going to say is that there are 2 pairings that I want to focus on that occur at the end of the book. There is a pairing including Harry, and there is a pairing, yes, and a partridge in a pear tree. Okay. There is a pairing including Harry, and there is a pairing including Hermione. I don't ship either of these pairings at all. I just don't. I just think that the person that Harry ended up with, I don't feel they needed to be validated by being in a relationship at the end of the day, because this character that he ends up with is portrayed as a very strong, independent person, and so I just feel like that, yeah, it kind of diminished that character a little bit as far as I'm concerned. As for the pairing the relationship that Hermione ends up being in, I 100% don't support this pairing. All throughout the series, these two, you can tell they're not going to be a good couple, and then they end up being a couple. J.K. Rowling has even admitted she regrets what she did at the end. So if the author even can admit to their mistakes, I can certainly say it here. Number 5. A Nope plot twist. A plot twist you didn't see coming or you didn't like. And for this one, I'm going to go with the 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is an adult mystery book, and the basic premise of this book is that it follows a guy whose name is Aidan. Aidan one day wakes up in the grounds of a mansion and finds out within the first chapter or so this is not a spoiler, that he is in the middle of a game that is being played where every time a new day arrives, that day is going to repeat itself. He's stuck in a time loop until he can solve the murder of who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. Again, it's not a spoiler because this is in the first couple of chapters. So, anyway, one twist that I loved about this book is that Every time the day repeats itself, Aiden is going to wake up in the body of another person that was there on the day that Evelyn Hardcastle was killed. I really appreciated that. I love the first 3/4 of this book, but the reveal, the plot twist, because there's a plot twist with the reveal. It's one thing to give a straight reveal. It's another thing to have a plot twist in the reveal. And that's what Stuart Turton did, and I did not appreciate this at all. I was trying to work out who the killer was all the way through this book because I was enjoying it so much, and we received tons of information, especially because Aiden could end up inside the bodies of all these different people. It gave us access to all these other different people, and it was really amazing. But then, with the reveal came a plot twist, which was the only way the reveal was going to make sense, but at the same time, ensured that there's no way that the reader can solve this book without pure luck and just guessing based on nothing. Because once you know the plot twist, you realize that you didn't have any information that was going to lead you to think that this person was the killer. So that really disappointed me. I still like this book. I gave it, I think, 4 stars because I like the first 3/4, but the plot twist and the reveal, wasn't down for that. This is the one I chose for the answer to that question. Number 6. A Nope protagonist action or decision. A character decision that made you shake your head. Nope. And for this one, I am going with Rose Hathaway in the 4th book in the Vampire Academy series, specifically this 4th book, Blood Promise. Okay, so, without giving away spoilers, in this book, our protagonist Rose Hathaway needs to go on a questing journey, which you guys know I don't like questing journeys anyway, but that wasn't my point. Needs to go on a questing journey to find something and do something with that something when she gets there. There we go, that's the best spoiler-free way I can explain it. Along the way, Rose gets very easily distracted by certain things and she makes some horrible decisions that completely sidetrack her from her mission. In fact, this ensures that the first half of this book is completely and utterly boring and dull, and I rated this book rather low, and that's part of the reason why. Had Rose stayed focused and had a one-track mind, this would have been a really good book, but because she kept getting sidetracked from her mission, it became really boring. Those things only occurred because she made some terrible decisions in the first half of this book. So, in answer to that question, Rose Hathaway, specifically in the 4th book in the series, Blood Promise. Number 7 is a Nope genre, a genre you will never read. I can't give you an answer for one that I will never read because I never know till I try them. Speaking of trying them, this month, I read Marcus Zulsak's The Book Thief. I'm not going to say a lot about this now because it is going to be included in my monthly wrap-up, so you can check that out over there. But I will very quickly just say that this is a historical fiction, and I did not enjoy it. I then realized that another one of the books that I'd read this year, which is it's either a middle grade or a YA, is also a historical fiction. I didn't know that at the time. I can confirm it is now. And I realized this type of genre is just not the genre for me, because historical fiction might as well be rewritten to be called wartime stories. And I'm just not a fan of reading about the war. It's just not my thing at all. So, you're going to be hard-pressed to see me pick up another historical fiction on this channel, but hey, if it's been a year or so and I'm holding a historical fiction in that latest TBR that you watched, comment below and remind me of this video. But at the moment, I don't see myself picking up another historical fiction because they're just not the book for me. Number 8, a Nope book format. Book formatting you hate and avoid buying until it comes out in a different edition. Well, I don't like that H word, hate. I'm not a fan of it. In saying that, of the 3 potential book formats that you can acquire a story with, my least favourite out of physical, audio, and ebooks is ebooks. The reason for this is because my eyes are sensitive to natural and unnatural lighting, so to stare at my phone or another type of device for hours and hours while I read is going to be actually painful for me. And so therefore, if a book came out in an ebook format, then I would wait for the physical book or the audiobook or both to be available. A little side note here, we're just going to go on a really tiny little tangent. Ever since I started doing this channel, I have had quite a number of requests from writers to receive an ARC from them, an advanced reader copy that I could then read and then review on my channel. The problem with this was that the only available copy that they were able to send me, most of the time because they were international authors, which is understandable, were ebooks. So I've had to come back to these writers and say, look, I'm really sorry, but, because of my sensitivity with my eyes, I can't read ebooks. Do you have this available in audiobook form, or do you have it available in the physical book form? Is there any way you can send me any of that? Because then I will gladly read this book for you and, then review it on my channel. But no. So, just a little side tangent. One of the reasons that I don't have a ton of advanced reader copies on this channel is because the only ones that seem to be available that I'm offered at the moment seem to purely be ebooks, and I just can't read them. Number 9, a nope trope. A trope that makes you go nope. For this one, I am referring to the one I'm sure you guys know if you watch my channel, because I talk about it all the time. The questing/traveling trope when you don't know where you're going or how you're going to get there. To me, this makes for a very boring plotline because we spend most of the time trying to get somewhere that we don't know where it is. And nothing else really seems to happen. It's like we're on horseback or we're walking or whatever, and we follow a daily rhythm of travel, stop, have a meal, have something to drink, go to bed. Let's hope that no one's coming after us. Someone might come after us, so let's get back on our horses again. Travel, stop. Repeat. I'm not a fan of this trope at all. It's my least favorite trope. So if it comes up in a book, I get really wary of it, but I'll give it a chance. There are some that do this really well. Eragon's a good example of a traveling trope where, they do that well. But anyway, because it's more entertaining. But anyway, most of the time, not a fan of traveling/questing tropes. Next, we have number 10, Nope Recommendation. A book recommendation that is constantly hyped and pushed at you that you simply refuse to read. And for this one, I'm going to go with The Wheel of Time. And I'm going to up there put a picture of the Wheel of Time book 1, The Eye of the World. So, I gave this book a go. I don't remember what month it was, but it was very early on in my BookTube channel. I gave it a quick go. I DNF'd it after the first chapter. I read the prologue and chapter 1 and realized it just wasn't the book for me. But you know what? It made it really easy for me to DNF not only that book, but the series, because I have no intention of going back to the series at all. It's just, the writing style is just not for me. I don't feel guilty about this because a lot of booktubers out there are already reviewing them anyway. They're very popular. So I much prefer to DNF an overly popular book that you guys are going to see tons of reviews for than to DNF a book that maybe no one has reviewed or only one booktuber has reviewed before. So, definitely Wheel of Time. Number 11, a nope cliche or pet peeve. A cliche or writing pet peeve that always makes your eyes roll. For this one, I've chosen to hold up Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, but this is not the only book that does this. Not at all. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to writing style, that's the one I'm going to go with for this, is multi-perspective books. I will read them. Sometimes they are done very well, but this is a very rare thing for me. Now, this is not to say that I hate Six of Crows, because I don't. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was an average book as far as I was concerned. But one of the things that I least loved about the book was that it was multi-perspective. So for those of you who don't know, very quick rundown. A Dual perspective book is a book that follows more than one perspective, and each chapter, generally speaking, because I found out this month it's not always the case, but generally speaking, alternates. Every second chapter is another person. Another person's perspective that we are witnessing, that we're reading about, that we're reading from. With Six of Crows, we have multi-perspective, so any more than two perspectives goes from being called a dual perspective to a multi-perspective. And this makes it even harder because you're not just following two different perspectives, you're following three or more. And this book does that. There are others that do it that, you know, I'm just not a fan of. I don't like this. I much prefer the author to pick one perspective, or for the author to be omniscient and just write in third-person writing style. Andy was feeling this way, Jay was feeling this way, Mel was feeling this way, Mika was feeling this way, and I'm just talking about a book that I wrote, but anyway. Because that's what I've done with my writing style. I don't write from the perspective of a character. I write in an omniscient narrator writing style where you can get perspectives of anyone at any time, but it's not written in a dual or multi-perspective format. I'm not a fan of them. Number 12. A nope love interest. The love interest that's not worthy of being one. A character you don't think should have been a viable love interest. And for that one, we're going to go back to Harry Potter. Some people call this book canon, some people don't. Speaking of unpopular opinions, I gave this book 5 stars. So, it is the 8th, and very scandalous, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Okay, so I loved this book. However, to me, there is a pairing in this book that, they just go together so well. And at the end of the book, I really thought they were going to get together. I hard shipped them. But no, because that's just not how things work in the Harry Potter canon world. J.K. Rowling, have you read any fan fiction recently? Anyway, but in Harry Potter canon world, this doesn't work this way. So, okay, here's what I can say without giving away spoilers. The little gripe that I have is the two characters that I shipped are two male character best friends. And, oh my gosh, they fit each other so perfectly. One is able to get the other out of their shell. Another is able to bring out the best side of the other, and so on and so forth. These are just one example for each of them. It's just amazing to read these two. They have an undeniable, closely bound friendship that would have worked so well in a relationship. And then right at the end of the book, one of our characters ends up with someone completely different. What the heck? So the female character that ends up with the male character protagonist at the end of this book, no. I completely disagree. It felt like it came way far out of left center because... No! What are you doing? You can't just grab the one prominent female character in a book and say, you know what? You'll do. You can't do that. These two have no chemistry. They're kind of friends, but they have no chemistry whatsoever. And then you put them together? No. Again, I gave this book 5 stars. I love this book. But as for the pairing, no. Number 13's a pretty big one. It's a big call, but I have an answer. A nope book. A book that shouldn't have existed that made you say nope. And you would think I would be sitting here saying, oh no, I don't have one of those. But I do. I do. This book should never have been written. I know I'm going to break a ton of hearts out there. I know this goes completely against popular opinions, but that's what I love about BookTube. Complete, brutal, total honesty. My answer for this one is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. So in April, I decided to read the Lord of the Rings series to celebrate my best friend's birthday. And because I was doing it to celebrate my best friend's birthday, I ended up giving all 4 books, The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, immunity. In other words, I could not DNF them. I had to read them all. Had I not done this, I probably would have DNF'd the whole trilogy after reading The Hobbit. But anyway, this book Book 1 in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is meant to be a bind-up, I know, and then they were separated 3 books, but since they are separated into 3 books, I'm calling this Book 1, because it even says on the spine, Book 1. Okay, this first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogies is a complete and total disaster. Let's put it that way. There are other words I could definitely use there, but I really just don't. I don't want to offend you guys, because you guys probably love this series, and I just don't. There are things that I don't like about Book 2 and Book 3 in the trilogy, but there are little things here and there that I did love. I don't like anything about this book, and quite frankly, I do feel this book is a waste of space. I do feel that we could have gone from The Hobbit into Chapter 1 of The Fellowship of the Ring, straight on into Two Towers. We don't need this book. I feel like it's nothing but a complete filler book. It was boring. I liked nothing about this book. This is the most airtime this book has received since I have done the April monthly wrap, because I don't like advertising these books because of how much I really just don't like them. I find the whole series to be very boring. I felt like there was so much potential for all of these characters, and I don't feel that they were explored to the fullest. I feel that J.R.R. Tolkien writes, what's that phrase? What is that phrase? He tells more than he shows, and he's extremely overly descriptive. He's definitely not the writer for me, but this book, I don't burn books. I don't. I consider that to be a sin. If you're happy and you know it, that's a sin. Anyway, it's a Simpsons thing.
If you're happy and you know it, that's a sin. If you're happy and you know it, that's a sin.
The Fellowship of the Ring, I don't burn books, but if I did, this one would have been burnt by now. Oh my gosh. It is so boring. And I gave it immunity, and I regretted it the whole way through, because there is nothing appealing about this book. Nothing at any stage of this book redeems this book. I'm not a fan. I don't know why it exists. No. Number 14, a Nope villain, a scary villain or antagonist you would hate to cross and would make you run in the opposite direction. For this one, I have gone with Mistborn, The Final Empire, the first book in the Mistborn series. The reason being, yes, this is my favourite book for this year, and I read it this year, but it's my favourite book of all time, actually. But that's not why. The villain in this book is known as the Lord Ruler, and I am choosing the Lord Ruler for sure. So a very quick premise about this book, and I mean extremely quick bullet points. I've reviewed this book, and you should check it out in my Mistborn playlist. Anyway, this book takes place in a world where the bad guy, the villain, already won. He is a tyrant who lords over the entire world of this world, and he's known as the Lord Ruler. What makes him even more scary is that he is immortal. Nothing can kill him. So if this guy is approaching me down a dark alley, he's immortal, there's nothing I can do to kill this guy. I'm either trying to run in vain, because I don't think I would survive trying to run away from the Lord Ruler, or, more than likely, I would just become very subservient to him and say, yes, Lord Ruler, anything you say, Lord Ruler. I will become an Inquisitor, just don't do to me what you do to Inquisitors. I'm not going to spoil it. Yeah, if this guy came after me, I'd be screwed, because he's immortal. Number 15, a Nope death. A character death that still haunts you. You guys, we're going to stick with the same book. Mistborn, The Final Empire. I need to stick to this book again, because, this book has a lot of different things that appear in this tag, and many others, but of all the deaths that I've read, and I've read many deaths this year, the biggest, the most impactful, and the one that still haunts me to this day is the big death that occurs in Mistborn, The Final Empire. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that there's a death in this book, and for those of you who have read this book, the popular one, you know the one I'm talking about. If you've read this book, you know what I mean. So, there is a death that occurs in this book about 3/4 of the way through that, to me, broke my heart. I went through all the stages of grief with that death, including starting off with anger and denial and then crying, sorrow and all that kind of stuff. The only one I haven't reached yet is acceptance. Logically, I get why this character had to die because it is explained in the book, but emotionally, Brandon Sanderson, you've still broken my heart. I love you, I do, as an author, you're amazing, but you've broken my heart, Brandon Sanderson. And I don't know if I can forgive you for that. And finally, question 16, a Nope author. An author you had a bad experience reading and have decided to quit. Okay, let's go through this really quickly. I'm going to put a picture up there of The Magicians by Lev Grossman. Lev Grossman is an author that I definitely I have decided to quit. I love the show The Magicians. The book was horrible. I no longer trust Lev Grossman. Jay Kristoff is another one. I read a little bit of this book. It extremely disappointed me and dealt with things that I did not like, including a ton of swearing and a sexual assault scene, all in chapter 1 for a YA book. I have quit Jay Kristoff. Ellie Griffiths for The Stranger Diaries. Read this book recently and did not like it. Way too many perspectives and the whole book was just bad. It was just bad. And of course this question cannot be complete without J.R.R. Tolkien. Goodbye. So that's all the time we have today. This was the Nope book tag. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like it, it'd be nice if you could give this channel a like or if you could subscribe. That'd be nice. It would help my channel. But it's up to you. Anyway, letting you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah. Thank you for watching, and happy reading. Bye, guys. Bye.